Hi everyone, this is Aga from EurekaCrystalBeads.com and I'm here with a super fun beading tutorial for you. But before I get started, just a quick reminder to check out the rest of our channel, and if you like what you see, hit that subscribe button and the notification bell so you never miss any of our fun content. Welcome to part 2 of making this necklace. In part 1, we did the necklace itself, and now it's time to bezel the crystal. Now for this original colorway, all of the supplies that I used were from our February 2025 collection, the Berry Frost collection. It is a beautiful one, and I especially adore this pendant, this bezel that I made here with the white Delicas and the bronze round beads and the red drop or pear shaped crystal inside. And now to show you how to do that, I'm going to be using this 13 by 18 millimeter Krakowski crystal teardrop or pear shaped stone. We're gonna need one extra Chinese round bead 3 by 2 millimeters. And we're gonna need extra 11 These are round beads from Miyuki. We're gonna be using a lot of 15 and a lot of Delicas. For needle and thread, I'm gonna stick with size 12 needle and 4-pound Fairline in the color Crystal. Alright, let's get to it. Alright, I'm starting with slightly more than a half a wingspan of thread on my needle, and I'm gonna pick up 20 pairs of Delica beads, so 40 beads in total. I'm gonna slide them down my thread. I'm gonna make a circle and go through the first one. Now this is going to be a standard peyote bezel, so what you wanna do is you wanna add one Delica, skip one in here, and pass through every second Delica in this circle. So I'm skipping this one, and I'm passing through the next one. And when you pull tight, the one that you just added is going to line up nicely on top of the one that you kind of skipped. And another one, I'm skipping one Delica and passing through the next one. At this point, I'm still holding on to my tail thread so that everything is nice and tight and the tension is right. And I didn't tie my ends together because I know that the tension could be too much after I go through all of the beads, so I'm just gonna finish my tail thread at the end. Don't worry, your work won't get loose. Now this is gonna be the last bead in this row, so I'm passing through the bead that I normally would have, so every second one, that's gonna be the one that my tail thread is coming out of, but also through the first bead that I added, so one of those that are already lined up on top of each other or next to each other, depending on how you look. Now we're gonna go with one more row, just like this one. So a regular peyote row, so I'm picking up a single Delica and skipping one and passing through the next one, which is conveniently raised at this point, so you know exactly which bead to pass through, because that's the next raised bead. That's gonna be my last bead in this row and the last Delica in the bezel itself. We're gonna add some more later, but for the bezel, that's all the rows of Delicas that you need to make. So you want each bead to have a neighbor, so you want 2 in a row or in a column if you look like this. So you want 2 in each, so there's 2, here's 2, here's 2, so that's what you want to see. And now let's do the back of our bezel, and we're gonna start by putting a single 15 in between each of the Delicas, so a regular standard peyote row with 15. That's my last 15 in this row. And now at this point, it's just a round bezel. It doesn't have a defined pear or teardrop shape yet, so why don't we do that now? So I'm just not gonna add any beads, but I'm just gonna pass through this next 15-0 in here. So I'm gonna connect these two first 15-0s. And after I pull them together, I'm gonna help this a little bit. They're gonna come together and create our teardrop in here. And apart from that, you want to add a 15-0 in between each of the 15-0s here in this row, and then reinforce this connection here by going through those two first 15-0s one more time. That's going to be my last 15-0 here, and again I'm going to go through both of these together. I'm going to pull tight. I'm going to pass through this next one, which is the first one that I added in this row. And now to add some more structure here in the back, I'm going to pick up a single 15-0 and do a peyote stitch, but only every second bead. So I'm going 2 beads down here, so not passing just through the one. I'm going 2 beads down, and now I'm going up this next one so that you can see that there's a little bit of a dip created in here. So it goes down and up. I'm adding the next one and going down 2 15-0s. Don't forget to go up the next one. Adding a 15-0 in here, going down through 2, and you basically add a 15-0 every second spot. It's not going to check out in the end, so it's not going to be symmetrical on both sides, but don't worry about that. And I'll meet you at the top here. Now, as I mentioned, it's not symmetrical. If you'll notice, the first space here is a bead, and the first space here is going to be no bead. So it's not symmetrical. Now I'm kind of right next to this pointy part, and there's a space here. So I'm just gonna add a 15-0 in here to fill that space, just like that. There, and that's our teardrop. Now, time to do the front and finally enclose that crystal stone in our bezel. You can go through all of those beads in this last row again, but you don't need to. So I'm just going on a diagonal through the Delicas to the other side, to the front. I'm looking at where my top is, and it is right here. That's the pointy part, and you need to remember that because for this row, which is going to be the last row in the bezel, you're just going to pick up single 15-0s and do a regular peyote stitch row. Now it's a good idea to keep it nice and tight from the very start, so I'm tightening it up as I go. So around halfway, maybe less than halfway through, it's a good idea to put in your stone. Again, you find that pointy part by looking at the back where the two 15-0s are connected. And in here, you want 2 Delicas in this row directly above your point of the stone. So I'm going to hold on to that stone now and continue adding my 15-0s. Alright, so I reached that point of my bezel, and I'm not adding a 15-0 here. Instead, I'm connecting these 2 Delicas right like this. I'm pushing the stone kind of into the bezel so that they can come together. And after you reinforce this row, in a minute, they're gonna come together even more, creating a secure bezel for our stone. Now that's my last 15-0 in this row. And I'm gonna pass through all of the beads in this row, so Delicas and 15-ohs once more to reinforce it. Alright, I made a full round through the beads again and then some more because it's going to be easier for me to show you what I mean, where we need to be right now. So I finished going through these beads again and my thread is coming out of this Delica here. Now we need to find the row by going down on a diagonal. I'm going down an extra bead and then one more extra bead because I want to be in the row where on top here, when you look at where the point of your stone is, you want to be in the row where there's space here in between the beads. So not a bead. This is the point here, the top. So you don't want to be in this row because there's a bead here. You want to be in this row because there's space here in between these two beads on top. So my thread is coming out of this bead here, which is in the row that I want to be working into. And what you're gonna do now is you're gonna pick up single 11-ohs and you're gonna add them in between the Delicas in this row. Well, except for the one up top, because that's where we're gonna put a rondelle later on. So I'm just passing through one of the beads on either side and then through next bead in this row. So this is where I'm coming out of. And now we're going to be working a single 11-ohs in between the beads in this row. Make sure to gently pull on your thread so that the beads can find their place in between the Delicas and they can kind of stand up in here. Okay, that's my last 11-oh in here. Now I can go through that first 11-oh that I added. And if you find yourself right here on top of your work, you're gonna add this sequence of beads. So 11-oh, 15-oh, rondelle, 15-oh, 11-oh. And you're just gonna pass through the 11-oh on the other side of your bezel here to create something like this. And the rondelle will place itself right in that space between the Delicas in the bezel here. Right, now my first thought when I was designing this was to add rondelles in between those 11-ohs. But as pretty as it could be, rondelles are just too large to fit in there. So it's just a little tiny little bit too large to fit in there comfortably. So I thought, what's another nice thing that we can add here to make it a little bit more festive and more decorative? And the first thing I thought of course, is a picot. So I'm picking up 3 15-ohs and just passing through the next 11-oh around. You want to help them a little bit and they will create this sort of nice little triangle. Now you want to keep adding the 3s in between each of the 11-ohs for a series of really cute little picots. Alright, so my picots are ready. They already look kind of cute, but one thing is that they wiggle back and forth kind of a little bit if you move them. And I'm not sure I like the openings in between them. They are really nice, but what if we kind of fill them in a little bit and stabilized the whole thing? So one way you can stabilize the picots is if you go through each of them, but not through the 11-oh. So if you just go through the picot and straight to the next picot connecting the 15-ohs, that's gonna stabilize this entire row a little bit and they're not gonna wiggle as much. But another thing you can do is you can add Delicas all the way up front and down the back. So I'm just connecting the 11-ohs again, this time adding a single Delica in each of these openings in front of my picots that I just added. Just like that. So I'm passing through the 11/0 once again. Alright, all of the Delicas added in the front. I love how it adds an extra dimension to this entire beadwork. Now I'm going to add the Delicas in the back as well to further stabilize the structure because the picots still kind of fold back. They don't fold forward anymore, but they do fold back, so I'm going to add the Delicas in the back as well. But since I'm here up top already, I might as well connect this to my necklace. So I'm gonna find the middle section, which is this one, and we're gonna attach the drop to this rondelle in here, and you wanna be coming out of your rondelle in the bezel. And quite simply, you're just gonna add some seed beads on the sides to connect it. I'm just gonna keep it simple, and I'll add a 15-0, 11-0, 15-0. I'm gonna go around. Actually, it's a good idea to reinforce it further, to just make a round up here through the 4 beads in this segment, so through the 8/0s and the rondelle at the top there as well, because why not? Another set of 2 15/0s and 11/0, back through the rondelle. I'm gonna go through the beads in this round again to reinforce this connection. And now I'm ready for the last row in my entire necklace, which is gonna be in the back. So I'm coming out of the rondelle. I'm gonna go down the seed beads on the side, and voila, I'm where I wanna be. So coming out of the 11/0 up in here, and I'm gonna add a single Delica in between the 11/0s. It's gonna be slightly more difficult than in the front because these 11/0s are slightly kind of pulled towards the front as well, but you can do it. Now that's done, I'm going to tie off both ends of my thread. And the necklace is ready. I don't know about you, but I love both of these colorways. Still, the original one from the Berry Frost collection, I think, has my heart. And I might even wear it, even though it's one that requires a really good outfit to go with that. I don't know, would you wear a necklace like this with an everyday casual outfit or just with like a special occasion dress? Let us know in the comments. Meanwhile, thank you so much for watching. All of the materials are available from eurekaCrystalBeads.com, and a link to a list of all of the supplies will be provided in the description down below. I hope you enjoyed this tutorial as well as the first part for the necklace. Thank you again for watching and see you in the next video. Bye!